What's up, everybody? This is Sea Lunch Sports. You're listening to Kennedy Curley. Hayden Klinkhammer is over here in his stupid Saints jersey, and Ian has his wonderful Dak Prescott jersey on today. We're going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys a little bit, actually. We're talking about Zeke. He is apparently threatening to hold out on his contract. If he doesn't get a contract, he's apparently holding out. And we'll also be discussing a top 10 wide receiver list because Hayden over here, we had a little disagreement on Twitter yesterday. It wasn't anything crazy, but just some language that he used about Michael Thomas being the best receiver or something like that. And so we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about all these, all our top wide receivers and see how different they are, because it's just going to be. We know that I'm going to be right. Ian's probably going to be right too, and then Hayden's probably going to say something.
Ian has Amari Cooper in the top 10.
We'll see. We'll get to it, but immediately let's go ahead and analyze the Zeke holdout. Just what are your reactions?
Go ahead, Cowboys people.
I'll start this one a little bit, actually. I think that Zeke, first off, I think he deserves to get a contract, and you could even make the case that he deserves to be the highest paid running back in the league. I'm sure that he probably will, but I also think that with the news of him getting sued, you could make the case that maybe the Cowboys will try to use that to their leverage. They tried to do that with my boy Dez, throw up the X, when there was that talk about the you remember the whole Walmart incident where there was talk about something happening in the parking lot of Walmart, and they tried to use that. No video was ever released, but they tried to use that to probably get the best contract leverage. I could see them using that with.
That's probably why he dropped it.
Dropped what?
He's never dropped anything.
He doesn't drop things, Hayden. Yeah, that was the best caught it. You know it, okay. But anyway, so as it pertains to Zeke, I could see them maybe trying to lowball him at first, but ultimately I don't think that this is really that big of news. He's going to probably get the highest paid contract, and I think he deserves it. He can block, he can run through the tackles, he can break one loose, and I honestly think that he's better at receiving out of the backfield than they give him credit for. But the only reason I say that, I think that he should be used more out of the backfield. Hayden, I know you're probably disagreeing, and I understand why. His stats don't reflect him being a great receiving running back. But I think that he has the ability to be more involved in the passing game because, for whatever reason, the Cowboys haven't used him there, and I think that they should. But ultimately, I don't think that this is that big of news. I think that Zeke what I will say is this, though. They should pay him big. I think the Chargers should pay Melvin Gordon big.
Yeah.
But for different reasons. I thought Le'Veon Bell should have been paid big, but not because they're that big of stars. I just think that running back is the most ripped off position in the league. We're seeing more running backs actually having their highest value as rookies and in their rookie contract, and then once they become free agents and you can extend them, they lose a little bit of that value, and so they're no longer worth as much as they were before, but they were getting paid very minimally as rookies. So I think that I'd like to see some structure changes in how running backs get paid. Maybe you should open it up for negotiation out of the draft, like we used to do. When Sam Bradford was getting paid ridiculously. Maybe that'll help running backs get the money that they're worth, because I don't think that we're ever going to see running backs get paid. Like Saquon Barkley is going to get paid a lot, but I don't think he's ever going to get paid what he deserves. Zeke, same thing. These are all-star running backs in my opinion, and I don't think that they're. We saw Le'Veon Bell, who I thought was I thought he was the best running back in the league when he was playing, and he didn't get the offer that he was wanting or what he deserved.
The whole thing with that is the Steelers literally freaking abused that system because they could keep offering him franchise tags. So literally it was like, people got upset with him, sort of like trying to force something on that. I don't have an issue with that because the Steelers were literally trying to lowball him year after year after year. So
they were trying to take advantage of almost a loophole in the system, and I think that that's actually why I enjoy when guys like Zeke and Melvin Gordon and all those guys try to take advantage of any leverage that they possibly can, because at the end of the day, it's not like they have that much leverage anyway. They're getting underpaid, in NFL terms from day one, and when they want a little bit of money, teams just kind of let them go. So I'd like to see him get paid quite a bit. Same with Melvin Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take.
I agree with you. Me and Hayden were talking about this earlier, how if you think about the shelf life of a running back like 10 years ago, it's completely different from what it is today.
Yeah.
You've got 2 good contracts out of a star running back until they start to decline. There's succession after that. But like you were just talking about, the rookie deal, you're not going to get paid what you're deserving on those first however many years. So I don't have a problem at all with running backs wanting to get extended, wanting to get more money, because at the end of the day, they know I've got this long to get paid, and I'm not getting it, and I've got this long to do it. So holding out really is all you can do at a certain point. And I think Zeke deserves it without a doubt. Same way I think Le'Veon Bell deserved it. Same way I think Melvin Gordon deserved it. It's a really, really important position, and they get run into the dirt.
Yeah.
So one thing I'll say about Zeke too, I think, is that, and we don't talk about this, but his injury history is very, very like, I don't think that we've seen him get injured in the NFL at all.
Yeah.
No.
Melvin Gordon, you could make the case, okay, he hasn't played a full season, or if he has, then he gets injured about every year. He hasn't missed a whole season, but he gets. Same with Le'Veon Bell, has some injury issues. Todd Gurley gets some injury issues. Zeke hasn't had those same injury issues, and he's pretty dependable, really, in every facet of the game. And so, they could try to lowball him, but at the end of the day, he, as far as running backs go, he's actually maybe one of the most valuable running backs. Maybe not. Just because he's valuable in so many different areas, blocking, running, receiving, etc.
You can make an argument for Todd Gurley, but other than him, can you think of a running back that would be more valuable to a team? Because I can't. I think, as Hayden always says, he said, Saquon. But Saquon's going to get 40 carries a game and get demolished all year. Yeah. But Hayden, as you always say, how do you always discredit Dak Prescott? You say he's only as good as he is. However, you may that he's only as good as he is because of Zeke Elliott. Better player, just like he turns the entire offense into a better offensive system.
1,000.
So I'd say Gurley is the only other back that's close to being as valuable.
But I will say this about the Gurley thing. Kennedy and I were talking about this before we started recording.
Yeah.
Now that Gurley is starting to have, some injury concerns, I think I would put Zeke as probably the best running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
When healthy, I still think it's Gurley, but I think it's closer now than you could have made the argument for even 2 years ago or at the start of last season.
Yeah. So I looked up some stats for you. Over Zeke's career, he's got 4,048 career rushing yards. Gurley's been in the league one more year, so he should, theoretically, you'd think he'd have that year to adjust to the NFL. He'd have more yards. He's got 3,441. So you'd say the only running back who's close to being as valuable has 5,000 less or 500 less rushing yards than Zeke. He led the NFL twice in rushing, and he didn't win one of his 3 years because he was suspended. So I don't see how you could not give it to him. I think he should be the highest paid running back in the league, and I don't think the Cowboys should really balk at that very much. I see how with the whole legal trouble right now, but he's being sued by a security guard, and it's going to blow over the money anyway.
Exactly.
So it's not going to matter.
What you should do if you're the Cowboys? You should pay for the legal fees. I mean, that's how important Zeke is to the team.
I agree.
I'm just kidding about that. They shouldn't. He needs to get his stuff together.
I'm being so dead serious. Without Zeke, they don't make the playoffs. Without Zeke, they don't make the playoffs.
No, yeah, I agree.
And with him, you could argue they're Super Bowl contenders. I'm not going to go that far, but I wouldn't disagree with that argument.
Back to the whole rookie deal thing. I was just thinking about this, but I think there are a lot of the best, as you said, Ian. A lot of what we see in running backs today is a lot different than what it was before. Yeah. What we're seeing now is we're seeing a lot of these running backs who are in their rookie deals who are the best running backs in the league. Todd Gurley was was in his first. He just got extended, so he's one of the best. But other than him, Zeke is in his rookie deal. Saquon Barkley is in his rookie deal. Alvin Kamara is in his rookie deal. You've got guys like who was the one who just got cut by the Chiefs? I'm still going to consider him in his rookie deal because Kareem Hunt was in his rookie deal before he got cut because he was dumb. There are a lot of guys like Melvin Gordon. A lot of the running backs out there that we consider the best in the league are in their rookie deals, and then you get to guys like Todd Gurley who just left his rookie deal and he's already experiencing some injury issues. Same with Le'Veon Bell. Same with a few of the other guys out there who David Johnson. The longer you go without paying them, the more value they lose. And then once you try to pay them, they're not getting nearly as money as they were going to get had they been a free agent coming out of the draft. You know what I'm saying? So but I think I would like to see in the next negotiations, the next player owner, there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about, but I think that would be one thing that maybe some running backs and their agents try to bring up and say, hey, we're not getting paid adequately according to our worth, and we want to talk about possibly getting free agent deals out of, maybe just for first round picks or something like that.
That would make sense. And the reason it's so messed up to me is because the way the system is currently, it makes sense if you're a franchise to do it exactly how you're doing it. Because you got this guy, he's an elite running back, but you're like, if I give this guy top money for that position, what's that going to look like in 2 years?
Yeah.
So it completely makes sense from a team standpoint, and I think that's why some teams you'll see opt not to. Mm-hmm. It makes sense, but I think it's just a flawed system, and I think something does need to change as far as running backs getting paid more, because you could almost argue that their prime is in that rookie contract.
Probably. At this point in age, it is. The only guy that you really see who's over 30 now is Adrian Peterson, and that's because Adrian Peterson is one of the best talents and that we ever see. This is a guy who came out from an ACL injury, at the very, I think before his recovery time, and almost broke the record for most yards in the season. So he's kind of the anomaly, but everyone else,
and Frank Gore. Frank Gore.
Yeah, Frank Gore too.
LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah.
LaShawn McCoy kind of had a drop off after last season.
Yeah, now, but I'm saying
this year he was bad.
He was good. I'm just saying, as far as guys in their prime, LaShawn McCoy was probably in his prime earlier in his career, and over the last 4 years or so, he's kind of lost that a little bit.
Yeah.
But so that just plays into what we're saying. How old is he? He's got to be
probably like 31 at this point. Let me look it up.
Yeah. So you can see, like, that is an outlier. He's 31 years old. He's not ancient, but that's old enough to where you're considered old as a running back. You're done. You're not going to be elite at that age. So you come into the league at 21, you've got 6-7 years of being elite, and that's your window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, looking at the running back, the yardage, I'm just going to read the top 10 players of this year in rushing yards. Zeke, he's on his rookie contract. Saquon is on his rookie contract. Todd Gurley is not. And then you have Joe Mixon. Is Chris Carson on his? Yes. He is. Okay, so you got him. Sorry, I just clicked on him on accident. Chris Carson, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson, Phillip Lindsay, and Nick Chubb. Only Adrian Peterson and Todd Gurley are on that list who are outside of their rookie contract.
Yeah.
Everyone else is young, and they're getting paid the rookie deals. I just think that that's something that might need to be talked about. And I think Todd Gurley even mentioned that earlier this week when he talked about average NBA players getting paid more than him.
Well, that's the whole
ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Well, you have all these NFL guys now seeing all these, like Kennedy said, average NBA players getting paid. Terrence Ross got $50 million.
Yeah. That's wrong.
It's just different. It's just different. Yeah. Because that's the way the NBA is. The NBA has always done a better job of taking care of its players than the NFL has.
Yeah. And also there are just less players on the NBA team, so you split money up. But even then, it's like stars in the NFL. Tom Brady should be able to get paid as much as LeBron James. And I guess he can, quarterbacks are a little bit different, but
Yeah.
guys like Michael Thomas or guys like Julio Jones, who we're going to get into because that's our next topic. But they should be able to get paid pretty much in that same atmosphere, you would think, because the NFL makes more. It's the biggest sport in our country.
Exactly, and that's my whole issue with it, and my whole issue with Roger Goodell in general. I think.
Well, you can argue that there's so many players on this roster. Not that they're all getting that much money, but if you look at the way the money's spent on a 53-man roster as opposed to a 15-man roster, that's a lot of money you got to divvy out. So if average role players, as we were Tariq Cohen, he's a decent player on that team. He's not an elite player on that team, but he's one of their upper tier role players.
Yeah,
getting max money because that's what happens in the NBA. You see these mid-tier role players that are kind of upper tier role players, and they're getting paid max money.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Money is distributed in the two sports. So to me, it makes sense just because you've only got so much money to spend. And, it
makes sense to a certain degree, in my opinion. I do agree. But it is the disparity, the discrepancy is very big. It's I think that we could at least shorten that, in my opinion. But
definitely think so, especially when it comes to running backs.
Yeah, running backs, receivers, skill position guys who people buy their jerseys. That's how much money they bring to you. So
So let me just bring this up real quick. I am here on PFF.
Okay.
I am looking at PFF grades.
I know where this is going.
And I'm struggling to find Zeke, and I scroll down, and he's all the way down at 24.
In what?
In rushing. PFF grade. Run. He's all the way down at 24. Wow. I don't know. I'm going to take back my statement, I think.
I've heard you. That may have been one of the dumbest things you've ever said.
I mean, to be fair, he's saying that PFF is saying it, but I still don't think that's snag. I'll say this: I don't think Zeke is the best running back in the league, but I think that when he gets his contract, he probably should be the highest paid player in the league because of the consistency that he puts out there, because of the blocking that he puts out there, and his injury history that doesn't exist.
You say highest paid player?
No. Sorry, highest paid running back.
Okay.
And so I think that he deserves to be the highest paid because of the consistency.
Yeah.
And then maybe the next contract that we see, Saquon Barkley, maybe he'll get paid higher than Zeke.
I bet he will.
Probably. I mean, I don't think Zeke should be the highest paid forever. I just think right now the Cowboys should pay him as such because you can make the case that he is the best running back in the league. I don't agree, but he is close to the best running back in the league.
Where would you put him?
I probably would put Todd Gurley above him just for now. And then you're going to hate me, but I'd probably put Saquon Barkley above him. I don't love the Giants at all as a Cowboys fan, but I love Saquon Barkley. That man is a beast. So I'd probably put those two guys over him.
Let me just
I agree with you. I would have Todd Gurley above Zeke, but I don't think I'm putting Saquon over him yet. After this year,
Wait. Hang on a second now. Hang on a sec. Were you not the one that was talking about in rookie years winning MVP?
What are you talking about?
You.
I don't know. No, I don't know what you're talking about though.
You're talking about Saquon because they only did it for 1 year, but every time we bring up Dak or Zeke, their rookie year is like the greatest thing ever.
Oh, no. You're misreading me here. It's not because it was rookie year. It's because in his rookie year, I don't think he was better than Zeke. I think he might improve this year.
That's blasphemy.
No. I will say this. Although I think that Saquon is better, I think what Ian is saying is that in his first year, even Zeke's first year, it would have been hard to say that he was better than Le'Veon Bell.
Exactly.
Or, just because it was only one season. You could even make the case that David Johnson was better than Zeke after having a few seasons in the league. But at this point, now that Zeke's done it for a few seasons, and then Saquon Barkley is in that same position,
Yeah.
It's hard to say Saquon Barkley is better after doing one season of what Zeke's done for the last 3.
Yeah. If Saquon carries the Giants, because they're not going to make the playoffs, if he carries them to 8 wins, if he's close to the top, he may win the rushing title. If he's close to up there,
I'm sure he'll win the rushing title.
Yeah, I think
because the amount of times he's going to touch the ball.
He could be the best running back in the league this season.
Good.
I wouldn't be. I might actually. Y'all watch out. I'm looking at Saquon Barkley in my fantasy draft when we do that again.
You and me both.
You took Zeke from me last week. Really pissed me off.
I know.
Remind everyone who's 3-time champ.
I do want to say this. I just joined this season. This season, so the last 2 years I didn't have the chance to do this. But this season you did win. You did. I have to give you. You won this year.
That's right. Interesting.
Didn't have the best team. That was Andrew by a long shot, but you did win, and I have to give you credit for that.
If you could, I was in such a bad position because I.
Here we go.
I'm not
Here
making.
we go.
I'm not making an excuse. You won. But I just want to describe my fantasy football year to you. If you could have a player get hurt, I had him, and I won just enough. I should have just tanked early in the season, but I won just enough to where I never got the waivers I wanted. And I think I rode the mediocrity train all year.
Yeah, mediocrity is one of the mediocrity is one of the biggest burdens that we face.
As Cowboy fans, I'm sure y'all understand.
I will say this, and I think we should move on to our top 10 list, but I had Leonard Fournette. That's all you need to know. Leonard Fournette was the worst player, and I needed prayer after that, and no one prayed for me, so it was a hard year, but worst pick in the draft. I couldn't have known.
I could bank on a weekly text message every Sunday of you just cursing Leonard Fournette like I've never heard anybody.
He changed his whole name to no hamstrings.
Yeah, no hamstrings. He needs to do some leg curls, man. He needs to do some lunges too. He doesn't do enough.
What's sad is he has so much muscle. So I do not understand how consistently every single week he was dealing with hamstring issues. He never had. At the very end of his LSU career, he was banged up because they gave him the ball 60 times a game. But, so that could have been part of the reason that he's broken down earlier. But
because he wasn't ready for the NFL because LSU is so soft, so they didn't really prep him.
No, Les Miles ran an 80s offense in 2015 and expected it to beat Alabama and all these other people. Yeah. Leonard Fournette was the only reason that LSU was relevant until Les was gone the last couple of years because he just destroyed people.
Orgeron, do you like him?
I do. I don't think he's a top coach in college, but I mean he's a good recruiter, so And
I'm glad that y'all have him.
Best coordinator, or he has the best defense coordinator in college in Aranda. So, I mean, he surrounds himself with good people on his staff. So he doesn't think he's the greatest thing ever. So he's able to surround himself with good staff. So
that's good. I got to ask you guys a question before we move on. What's it feel like to be fans of a successful college football team?
Look, I can't talk that much just yet.
I was gonna say
I will say it feels good to see guys get drafted from my team because we at least put guys in the NFL at A&M. But I think that in the next coming years, give us 3 years, and I think A&M is going to be one of the top 10 teams in the league. Jimbo Fisher is really building something that I'm really, really excited about. But not successful yet. I will say, as a basketball fan, being a fan of North Carolina, that's the only thing that's really kept me sane over the last decade or so, besides the Mavs in 2011. But we're getting toward the next decade now with that. That's been a long time ago. So
yeah, that was ages ago.
But I guess it's been a long time since LSU's won a championship. But yeah, we can move on. Top 10 wide receivers in the league. So we didn't really talk about this. We could do the format of each of us gives our 10, and each of us gives our 9, or we could go one person at a time and kind of go in depth.
Let's go. Each gives 10, each gives 9, each gives 8.
I like that because then we can talk about each individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Well,
yeah. I'd love to hear number 10.
You what?
I'd love to hear your number 10, Hayden. Let's hear it.
I'm first?
Yeah.
I got Mike Evans.
Who?
Whoa.
What do you? Whoa.
You didn't say Mike Evans at number 10.
Yeah, Mike Evans at number 10. Yeah.
I've got him in my top 5. I'll give y'all a.
I've got him in my top 5.
That's
sorry to spoil things. No, you're blasphemous.
2015.
Receiver in the league. Are you dumb?
This is not 2015.
No. Okay, I'm gonna pull up some Mike Evans stats here because you just.
Please do. Please do.
First of all, any Mike Evans stats that you look up are going to be handicapped because his team's been sorry and his quarterback is Jameis Winston.
That doesn't mean crap.
No. Yes, it does because he had two different quarterbacks and they kept flip flopping. They couldn't figure out who they wanted at quarterback, and he still put up.
Led the league in passing yards last year.
If you put Mike Evans on the Steelers, he's the best receiver in the NFL.
That's a joke.
He honestly, he was 3rd in yards this season. All right.
Yeah.
He had, what was it? Yards per target. This is what I was looking at yesterday. Yards per target. He was the 3rd best receiver based on yards per target. So anytime you throw it to him, you can expect to get the 3rd best yards.
He's physical. You throw it up there, and he's going to go up and get that ball.
Yeah.
If you throw a ball in his direction, there's a good chance he's going to go up and catch it.
And that's with, honestly, 2 quarterbacks that are worse than Dak Prescott. Hayden?
Yeah, without a doubt.
I'd take Jameis, but that's okay.
I'm honestly, Kennedy, I'm kind of hurt that you even felt like you needed to point that out.
I just wanted to put that out there because
exactly. Thank you.
No, Ian, it wasn't directed at you. It was directed at you, Hayden, because I know that's how I speak your language. If he's worse than Dak Prescott, then that means that Hayden has to respect.
I would put Jameis as a quarterback on the level of Dak Prescott.
That's fine, but even so, you didn't. I don't know. Mike Evans is in my top 5.
That's interesting that you say that because PFF ranks him not even in the top 20 this past year.
Oh,
so that's very interesting that he's both in y'all's top 5.
Yards per target.
How many
yards
games
per target?
How many games did the Buccaneers win this year?
It's a 22-man sport.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
Offense and defense, not including special teams.
I can name every other receiver on my list except for one, and even then, he was the reason this team won even any games at all. I would.
When the Raiders don't make the playoffs this year, Antonio Brown falls out of the top 10, right? Based on your argument.
No, because Antonio Brown will still be a top 5 receiver in the NFL.
So like Mike Evans. Literally what we're saying.
It's okay. Y'all, it's all right.
Number 10?
I'll go ahead and say my number 10. My number 10 is Keenan Allen.
Yep, I like that. If he can stay healthy, he's elite.
That's my thing. The last 2 years, he's a Pro Bowler. He put up good yardage both years, and I think we were talking about Amari Cooper as one of the top 5 route runners, Hayden. I think Keenan Allen is one of the top 3 route runners as well. He's a phenomenal route runner. It's just injuries, and even the injuries over the last few seasons haven't been enough to stop him. So the only reason I don't have him higher is actually probably because of those injuries. But I think that he's number 10.
So I made an honorable mentions list. AJ, or not AJ, Keenan Allen is number 1 in my honorable mentions number.
Wait, you don't have Keenan Allen, but you're getting on to me about Mike Evans?
Mike Evans is better than Keenan Allen.
Are you even putting them in the same category? You're ridiculous.
Ian, you better not have Amari Cooper in your top 10 if Keenan Allen is not in your top 10.
Keenan Allen can't stay on the football field. If he was healthy, if he could stay healthy, he'd be in my top 10.
I have respect for that argument. But I'm just saying, over the last 2 years, Pro Bowlers both years.
Yeah.
I would take him, but I don't have a problem with that.
Go ahead.
Hayden is going to have a cow at my number 10 after I tell him Keenan Allen's not in the top 10. But in my honorable mentions, I've got Keenan Allen, AJ Green, Stephon Diggs. I think both of them are close. AJ Green, I think he's getting old. I don't think he's elite anymore.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs. I feel like we've seen the best of Stephon Diggs. And I think he's going to decline. Maybe that's just the performance of the Vikings, but I feel like we've seen all we're going to see out of him. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm just not all that big on him. So I've got him outside of the top 10. But my number 10 is T.Y. Hilton.
Okay. Hey, I like T.Y. Hilton. I think that he's a top 10 wide receiver. You'll hear it pretty soon, actually, but. No, AJ Green. You mentioned him. I almost thought about him, and then I realized I don't think that AJ Green's been good since that good. He's been good, but he was great when under his rookie contract. And then right outside of that rookie contract, he was still great. And then since then, he's kind of had to deal with the injuries. He's I know this year he wasn't really present on the field all that much, and it's just maybe it's a little bit of bias of him being compared to Julio Jones because they were the top 2 receivers in their draft, but AJ Green hasn't completely lived up to that hype in my opinion, whereas at least I think that there are just 10 better wide receivers than him.
I think he had
great receiver, but
where he was he had quite a few years where he was top 5, and he had one year, I don't remember what year it was, but he had one year that you could argue him as the best receiver in the NFL, but I feel like he's had a pretty steep decline in the past 3 years, so he just slightly falls out of my top 10. And I'm really big on young receivers.
Okay.
And you're not really going to think that once you get closer to the top of my list. But right now,
okay.
And that's the reason to push him out. Number 9, stupid. Go ahead.
Who's Kennedy's number 10?
Keenan Allen.
Okay. Number 9, I have Juju Smith.
I'm laughing at Ian's face. I'm not laughing at anything you said, Hayden. Although that's normal, but I'm just playing.
Juju Smith-Schuster is a really good second best receiver on any team.
He's really good. No, look, man. I didn't have him on my top 10, but he's probably just right outside of it. And the only reason I don't have him on my top 10 is because this was the first year that he has been as good as he was. But if he has another year like that, I think that he'd probably be my top 10. The same would be said about Devontae Adams.
Ben didn't throw Antonio Brown the ball. He threw a fit.
No, I mean, you're not wrong, but the production wasn't there until this year. I think that he had maybe a top 10. Look, he's right there. He's probably at my 11 or 12.
I could be wrong. Next year I could eat my words, but right now he's the second best receiver on a really good team, or he's the best receiver on a bad team.
I think he'll be a really good receiver this year.
Yeah, and if he is, I'll eat my words. But that's what I see out of him.
I would, now that you've mentioned him, I would probably put him at 11, which I don't think is all that disrespectful. You have him at 9.
Yeah, no, I don't have an issue with that. I just have an issue with Ian saying the second best receiver.
Yeah, that's Ian. I got to agree with him on that one a little bit. He was really good. Didn't he have like 1,400 yards this season? Something like that? Look that up. Juju Smith. Yeah, he was top 5 in yards with 1,426.
Juju.
Respect there. My number 9 is, let me read it real quick. T.Y. Hilton.
Oh my God.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. But T.Y. Hilton has put up great yardage over the last, really his whole career, actually, now that I'm looking at that. His yards per target was only a little bit behind Mike Evans. And
is 1,200 yards really good?
1,300 yards if you want to round up, but
okay.
That's really good. That's solid. And
in 2017, he had less than 1,000 yards, only 4 touchdowns.
In a season where Andrew Luck he's been having to deal with the same things that Mike Evans has had to deal with iffy quarterback situations, with Andrew Luck being kind of in and out, and he's still put up really respectable numbers other than 2017. 2016, he put up 1448. He's, once again, yards per target, I think that's a valuable stat that tells you that anytime he's targeted, you can expect him to get a lot of yards.
His highest touchdowns in a season came in 2014 with 7.
That's fair. I just think that he's a really good yard. He can, get you some balls down the field. He's a mid-range guy. He's a, you can get him the ball anywhere on the field. And I think T.Y. Hilton can go and grab it. And I like T.Y. Hilton. Is he in your top 10 list, by the way?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Hailed.
Okay, so me and Ian are the only ones over here with some sense of T.Y. Hilton.
Exactly.
T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton. Sense in our lists, and then we were gonna have to listen to blasphemy.
Yeah.
T.Y. Hilton.
Good receiver. Ian, who's your number 9?
You can put him on honorable mentions.
I've got a hard time. Figuring out how you guys are gonna react to this. I don't know if you're gonna like it or if you're not. But my number 9 is Adam Thielen.
I'm perfectly fine with that. He's
fine.
He's higher in mine.
He's just a little higher, but we'll get to him.
I guess my reasoning being he didn't play the whole season, and before this year he wasn't even close to elite. But what year did he tear his ACL, or what week did he tear his ACL in?
It was probably late in the season. Was it this season?
Yeah, it was. It was later in the season.
I think it was like 11, but he had 113 catches for 1,373 yards and 9 touchdowns.
I'm seeing that he played 16 games this season, so it was probably the very last week.
Yeah, he played 16 games. Yeah. Even then.
Well, yeah, it's still a good year, but.
I have him.
And the year before, he still put up 1,300 yards. Not as many touchdowns, but he's been creeping up the list.
Yeah, I had him higher, but I think he was a weird one for me to figure out because he had, I think, didn't he break the record for most 100-yard games in a row?
Yeah.
But he was never over the top like someone like Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins, but he just consistently did it. And so I was kind of having to debate, okay, how explosive is he versus some of these other receivers, but also some of these other receivers aren't as consistent as him. So I have him a little bit higher, but I don't have a problem with that pick for you.
I don't either. I think you could argue anywhere from 10, definitely outside top 5, but
7.
If you put him at number 5, I wouldn't laugh at you, but
Yeah.
I don't. There's too many other receivers. He's good, but there's too many other ones to put him in the top 5, I think.
That's why I don't have a problem with anybody's list. So other than Mike Evans, because I think that he's better than all these guys, but other than him, like Juju Smith-Schuster being in your top 10, there are a lot of good receivers that you could argue. Same with T.Y. Hilton. If T.Y. Hilton's not in your top 10, he's got to be right outside of it. And so, Adam Thielen at number 8, that's not a problem to me. Or that was number 9, right?
9, yeah.
Maybe a little low for me, but not too big of a deal. Hayden, who's in number 8?
Keenan Allen.
Okay. You're gonna laugh at me. You might laugh at me, but I just, once again, it comes down to there are so many good receivers in the league. Tyreek Hill is my number 8.
I have no argument. He's on my honorable mentions. So.
He's on your honorable mention. Okay, so I thought he was just
top 10
mind-blowing.
What?
Is he on your top 10?
10 on yours?
Who?
Tyreek Hill.
No, he did not make my top 10.
Yeah, no, I thought he was just he was as big of that offense with him and Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Mahomes is the biggest guy, but Tyreek Hill, you take him out of that offense, I don't know that they're not dominant.
No,
dominant. I mean, him and Mahomes, I think, are made for each other.
Oh, it's a match in heaven.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Man, I love that. Man, I love Patrick Mahomes. It just brings a smile to my face. Wonderful dude, wonderful. Mavs fan too. No, yeah, Tyreek Hill, super fast, super explosive. Match made in heaven, as you said. The only reason I have him as low as number 8 is once again because it comes down to they're just 7 wide receivers better in my opinion. And the other thing was he was known last season, but he wasn't elite until this season. And so I think that you give him a few more years, he could be in the top 5.
And he's getting ready to miss like 8 games this year.
Yeah, that's true too. So I mean, we have to wonder about his availability as well. But yeah, it's just now that he's coming onto the scene now. That's the only reason I have him a little bit lower than the rest of the guys. But you had, what was it, Keenan Allen number 8?
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill. Ian, who's your number 8?
Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper played 8 games with the Dallas Cowboys whenever he got on a good team. He had 53 catches for 725 yards and 6 scores, which means he would have only got better. I'd say you could mark him down for 110 catches, 1,500 yards, 12 scores, and I don't think that's being too ambitious. I think that's very reasonable.
So if he doesn't do that this year, we take him out of your top 10.
Huh?
If he doesn't put up 110 catches, 1,500 yards, and 12 scores this year, take him out of your top 10. Yes?
We've got weapons on the offense. I think
Who?
Michael can come to his own.
Who? Who does that throw to?
I'm trying to tell you. Randall Cobb's not done yet.
Jesus.
Michael Gallup's going to come into his own, and he's going to be a fine. He's going to be a fine number 2 receiver on a good team. Michael Gallup is going to be better than Juju Smith-Schuster in the long run, in my opinion.
I'm God.
Ian,
Hey, Kennedy. He's not going to be better than Juju Smith-Schuster. There's not a chance.
Look, okay, so my only issue with I love Amari Cooper. I'm really glad that the Cowboys got him as a Cowboys fan. My only issue with him is that the sample size of him being as good of a receiver as we've seen is a lot smaller than the guys who I have on my list. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it just comes to sample size, and there's a lot of if with him. Oh, if he had a good quarterback in Oakland. But we talked about this actually before you got on. Someone like Odell Beckham didn't have a great quarterback, and he actually revived the career of Eli Manning. I don't think Eli Manning's that good. I don't think he's been good since the last Super Bowl that he's won. Maybe 1 year in there, and Odell Beckham came in, and he's been putting up elite numbers since. Amari Cooper has had a better quarterback in Derek Carr and hasn't put up nearly as good of numbers, but at the same time, I don't blame him for that. Most receivers wouldn't have that great of numbers with bad quarterbacks. I don't think that he's elite yet.
I'm not going to argue he's Odell Beckham 2 years ago. Because he's not. And I don't know what it was about the Oakland Raiders offense, but it was just stagnant. It looks like nothing was cohesive, and they just looked like a really bad football team. So you see this guy that's got, in my opinion, he's got unreal potential, and he had unreal potential coming out of the draft. And where was he drafted? He was drafted at, it was the top 10, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had the potential coming out, and I think he just never really got his opportunity. And then you saw it in Dallas at the back half of last season where he just exploded. He took off. So I don't think, saying that if he was there from the beginning of the season, that wouldn't have portrayed all the way throughout the season as opposed to just the back half. And I think if that was the case, I don't even think this would be much of a conversation. I'm confident if he had an entire season there putting up those numbers that you both have him in your top 10.
Maybe. Once again, Odell Beckham is one guy, but then you put in guys like Mike Evans and DeAndre Hopkins who have had great, actually pretty bad quarterbacks and still had great numbers. And so that's where I struggle I see guys like that, and then I see Amari Cooper who had good numbers with bad quarterbacks. But there are just other guys who I think that have done more at this point, even with just average quarterbacks or below average, and so that's why he's not in my top 10. But I think that he could be this season because I like Michael Gallup. I don't think he's going to be an elite second-year receiver yet, or second option receiver. I don't think that he's going to be. I think he's going to be decent, but I don't think he's going to be like, whoa, Michael Gallup's the other guy, on the opposite side of Amari Cooper that we need to have for years to come.
He's not.
So I think Amari Cooper is going to get the targets. What'd you say?
I said he's not, and Hayden would have heard me say that if he didn't run upstairs.
Yeah, he was messing with you, Hayden. I don't think.
No.
I almost had to leave the room even with that, but that's my thoughts on Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just. I think I'd value him a little differently. So DeAndre Hopkins and Mike Evans are both guys that it's my kind of receiver. You throw the ball and they're going to go get it. It's not about route running. These guys are physical. They're going to beat you at the line of scrimmage. They're going to beat you when the ball's in the air.
And Amari Cooper is that receiver.
No. As we were talking about just a second ago, Amari Cooper, as you were saying, top 5 route runner in the NFL. The guy's going to beat you with his technique, not with his power. And I think that's why he struggled fitting in Oakland. And that's why I think other guys like DeAndre Hopkins, like Mike Evans, can perform better with a bad quarterback just because they're that kind of receiver. Odell Beckham Jr. is a freak of nature. I don't know how to explain him. But I just think it's a little different. But I'm not turning my nose up at your points. They make sense, but it's just kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah. Well, I hate to break this that not argument up, but just topic. But we still have 7 through 1. So Hayden, do you have who's your number 7?
Cooper Kupp.
Ooh.
Surprise pick. Hello.
Whoa, wait. Sorry, I'm sorry. It just hit me. Cooper Kupp over Mike Evans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not mad at Cooper Kupp being in your top 10. I'm kind of mad at him being at 7. I'm really mad at him being over Mike Evans. I can't believe you value Mike Evans that low. It makes no sense to me.
I watch Mike Evans twice a year. He's in the same division. I watch him twice a year.
I watch him a lot too.
I watch him go through empty stats. I'm sorry, Kennedy. I know he's your boy at A&M. I liked him coming out of college. He doesn't make an impact on the game the way a Julio Jones does, the way Keenan Allen does, the way a Tyreek Hill does.
I don't believe he puts up empty stats.
That receiver and put him in a position where he can impact the game, or he's not playing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Jameis Winston,
who led the league in passing.
Not looking at these players with their respective team. We're looking at the player by themselves as the player. And I think if you take just Tyreek Hill, take just Tyreek Hill, or you take just I don't know, who the fuck else did you just list?
I listed Keenan Allen. I listed
just Keenan Allen.
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones is But if you take just Mike Evans and you take just Keenan Allen, I don't really think it's going to be close. I think Mike Evans is flat out the better receiver.
On what? Doing what? What does he do better?
He's more physical.
I
think it's close with route running.
I disagree.
I'm not going to say he's a better route runner. I think Keenan Allen's the best route runner, but I don't think Mike Evans is that far behind. I think he's got the better body to play the receiver position. I think he's got better hands. And
that is completely false. I watch him drop passes all the time. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, I sit and watch them.
If I was on the 10-yard line and I had to throw the ball to one of those receivers, I'm picking Mike Evans 10 out of 10 times.
Go ahead. Cooper Kupp, before tearing his ACL, was on, I would say, on pace to be a top 7 receiver in the NFL last year. And I think coming off an ACL tear, they don't need to rush him back. You want to talk about route running, I would put him up there with Keenan Allen.
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans is not a good route runner, but okay.
It's not a bad route runner, but
he's an average route runner.
That's all he needs to be, in my opinion. But Cooper Kupp, my thought on him, I'm looking at his numbers right now. He had pretty good numbers as a rookie, 869 yards. He's 25 this year. He'll be 26, I think, next season. And he was on pace for about 1,150 yards. Pretty good, but it wasn't like mind-blowing. He played half the season and got 566 yards.
Yeah.
And just for me, I could see where you're coming from because I think that he could be a top 10 receiver, but just nothing that I've seen so far has him at 7 or really. And he could be in my honorable mentions just because based off of the what ifs, but there are just too many what ifs with him, in my opinion, to put him in my top 10. Same with Amari Cooper. But probably more so with Cooper Kupp just because he hasn't played as long.
Yeah.
He's better than Amari Cooper. Is he better than Amari Cooper?
To me?
Yes.
He was probably better than Amari Cooper this season when he played compared to Amari Cooper.
Better than Amari Cooper?
It's close. That's a tough one, actually. I'd have to think about that. This season, he was better than Amari Cooper.
If you put Amari Cooper on the Rams, is Amari Cooper the number 1 receiver on that team?
Yes.
Okay, I disagree, but go ahead.
My number 7 is Adam Thielen. I had him. It's actually kind of a debate. I almost had him at number 6.
Not mine.
I have him for every reason that I said before. He's just a consistent 100 yards guy. The ACL, I think, hurts him a little bit, obviously, but very consistent. And he, only other thing, I've mentioned this with a few guys, but we didn't know about who he was until last season, maybe 2 years ago when he put up almost 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Last year was when he really emerged, and then this year was when we started to have questions about him being a top 5 receiver in the league. Still relatively new, but certainly I think that if you wanted to call him a top 5 receiver, I don't think that that's blasphemous. I do think that I don't agree, but he's my number 7.
He grades out like a top 5 receiver, but I think the thing holding him back is, like you said, yes, he's a consistent 100-yard guy, but he doesn't ever go above and beyond that.
Yeah. And this season, it was the most touchdowns he's had in his career, and it was 9. So
yeah,
really good receiver. I have to have him in my top 10 because of his consistency, but as far as he doesn't blow the top off or anything, just yet, not yet. But
if he was on a roster that fit him better.
I actually like his fit with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Stephon Diggs in your mentions. I don't like his fit with Kirk Cousins that much. But Thielen I do. And I think that Thielen, you could probably put him on a number of teams, and I think that he would just be that type of guy who could just consistently get you. That's actually, if you wanted to make an argument as a top 5, you could say Thielen could fit really on any team, but I think that his fit with Kirk Cousins is actually really solid.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs, I think, is the odd one out of Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen. I'm not high on Kirk Cousins at all, but Hayden. I think Thielen fits well with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And Kirk Cousins has been fortunate with what he's accomplished so far.
Exactly.
That's
decent. Not great, but he's decent.
He's better than Dak.
Not better than Dak, but he's okay.
I think he's better than Dak, but just by a little bit.
Number 6, Hayden.
Who's your number 7?
Oh yeah, Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Yeah. For all the same reasons you said, I think his fit with where he is, which I've been preaching, don't make my pick based on fit. Just base it off the player himself. But I think he's the fastest receiver in the NFL. I think, as we were just saying with Adam Thielen, I think he could fit almost anywhere, unless you put him on a roster with a bum-ass quarterback with no arm. He's going to have a hard time playing to his strengths in that situation. But, like you were saying, I just think he's elite.
Number 6.
I have Adam Thielen for the same reasons, everything you just said, Kennedy. Okay. I was considering putting him at 5, but again, like you said, he grades out as a top 5 receiver, but it's in terms of taking the next step into that. I mean, that top 5 is loaded. That's there's no issue being at 6. I mean, or 7. You know, that top 5 is loaded. And we'll get into that, but yeah, I have him at 6. Grades out really well. Good hands, good route runner, good fit with Kirk Cousins. Hopefully we'll continue to be the number 1 guy. Hopefully Stephon doesn't keep running his mouth like Stephon Diggs seems to do. Cannot stand Stephon Diggs, but for more different reasons.
Wait, what did he do?
Go ahead.
What did Stephon Diggs do? Because I don't think he did anything. I think it's just your sorry secondary.
Oh, okay. Go
ahead. So mine, like you were saying, I don't think there's any shame at being in the 6th spot just because the top 5 is so loaded. So with that being said, I have Michael Thomas at number 6.
Jesus. Ooh. I can't, Ken. I can't.
There's easy. I think there's a break.
Wow.
I think there's a break at number 5. And I just think these top 5 guys are your.
He's trolling, right? He's trolling. Let me see your list. Show the list.
Okay. I'll show you when we're done. I'm not going to show you now. But I think
at 6. At 6.
Would you like to hear why?
Go ahead.
First of all, the Saints offense is so potent. You could put a bum receiver on there and he would look outstanding just because they have so many different places to spread the ball.
I'm about to destroy you. Oh, thank you. Go ahead.
I hope you're not reading up stats.
What?
If you pull up stats, you put the guy on another team. I mean, he's not going to be as good as he is on the Saints offense. The Saints you could argue Kansas City, but the Saints probably have the most potent offense in the NFL.
Outside of Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, who on the Saints would start on any other NFL team? Tell me right now. What?
Fucking Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram's not there anymore.
Where'd he go?
He went to Baltimore.
Oh, he did?
Keep going. Who else? Who else? Ted Ginn, 35 years old and can barely run anymore.
Yeah, he's bad.
Traquan Smith, who was so inconsistent, got benched. Cam Meredith, who couldn't even stay on the field because he wasn't healthy.
You're mad.
Keith Kirkwood, an undrafted free agent. Dan Arnold, an undrafted tight end. Stop.
Number six.
Stop.
And I think that the top 5 guys.
Light this off. I told you he was gonna say something blasphemous, and
your top 5 are just the elite receivers in the NFL.
And Michael Thomas is not an elite receiver in the NFL. Jesus.
I'm not saying he's not elite. That's your cream of the crop. These 5 guys are as good as it gets, and I think Michael Thomas is really, really good. And as you were saying, there's no shame in being in number 6.
Yeah, for Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen, I don't think should be that high, but.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, I can't. I go ahead. I'm going to save the rest of my Michael Thomas stuff for when I talk about Michael Thomas, but go ahead.
You talking to me or him? Sorry, I just
You.
Okay.
You.
Number
Who's
6,
your
I've got Odell Beckham.
No, 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at number 6. I got Odell Beckham Jr. at number 6. Since day one, he was elite. Yep. He came into the league. His only issue, in my opinion, is just that he's injury prone a little bit, quite a bit actually. But he's one of the guys. If you throw it up to him, he's going to get it. His hands we've seen are ridiculous. I think that you could say that his target percentage, his catch percentage isn't that impressive. But you also have to consider the fact that, his quarterback is Eli Manning. So a lot of those throws that were going to him that he was getting targeted at might have been overthrown or underthrown or whatever. But the only bad season, quote unquote, that Odell Beckham has had was 2017, where he missed the entire season pretty much. Yeah. Other than that, year 1 he put up 1,300. Year 2, he didn't play and he put up 1,300 in 12 games. Year 2 he put up 1,450. Last season he played 12 games. He had 1,052 yards. His only issue for me is injuries, but his talent is off the charts. I think Odell Beckham. I almost had Adam Thielen over him, but Odell Beckham, I just think he's one of those guys. He takes you to the next level with his talent.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about Cleveland going to the Super Bowls mainly because of the addition of Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
That's my number 6. What are we at, number 5 now? Did y'all both said numbers? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. I can go ahead if you want.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Mike Evans because of a lot of the reasons that I've said in the past of him. Yards per target. That's your guy, man. He's going to get you yards when you throw the ball to him. And I know you say empty stats. I don't think that they're really. It's really hard to put up empty stats, in my opinion, in the NFL unless you're maybe a quarterback. But a wide receiver, I don't know, man. I mean, you got to run routes. You got to go up and get the ball. You just got to catch what comes your way. They don't get wins. You could attribute that to their trash defense over the last, really, since he's gotten into the league. Mike Evans, with all sorts of different quarterbacks, I guess really it's just been Jameis Winston. And who's the other guy that they had?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitztragic or Magic. You really never knew what you were going to get, but Mike Evans was the one guy who I think that you could point to on that offense that was actually competent. Everyone else, Deshaun Jackson was kind of up and down. They haven't really had a running back. It's Mike Evans.
Hey, you look upset, buddy.
No, I mean, if you want to argue him at 5, I don't think that's blasphemy at all. Trust me, there's been plenty more blasphemous stuff said on this episode alone. I don't find myself falling in love with the way he impacts a football game. And I think to be in the top 5, you have to be able to impact a football game. But that's just me. Could be biased because he plays for a division rival, even though they've been trash for the last 25 years. But yeah. That's what I have to say on that right now.
Who's your number 5?
I have Antonio Brown.
Okay. 1 second.
Yeah, you're good.
Antonio Brown at number 5?
Yep. If this was going into last year, he would have been in the top 2. But at this point, you're nitpicking. Talent-wise, he's incredible. But
not based off talent. Are we basing it off last year? Or are we basing off
all top 5 guys are talented. But Antonio Brown has a bit of an issue with dropping passes. Has a bit of an issue with if the ball is not thrown his way 600 times a game, he throws a fit.
I thought we were talking about ability as a receiver.
That's what I'm talking about. All these things are ability as receivers.
We were just talking about route running. He probably is the best route runner in the NFL.
Yeah, he's in my top 5. I just said top 5 is insanely talented. If this was going into last year, he would have been 1 or 2.
Yeah, I just think 5 is a little disrespectful.
Don't talk to me about disrespectful right now. Don't talk to me about disrespectful right now.
It's just a little disrespectful, Hayden.
Don't talk to me about disrespectful right now.
My number 5 is Odell Beckham Jr. He's been elite since he came in the NFL, like you said. He's got probably the most outstanding catch in NFL history against Dallas Cowboys.
I just want to, sorry to cut you off, but I want to mention it doesn't even hurt for you and I to say that. You know why? Mm-hmm. Because they didn't win. The Cowboys won that game. So anytime I see that highlight, I'm like, wow, that was a great catch. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. I mean, playoffs that year?
That's irrelevant.
Oh.
27.
Irrelevant.
Okay.
Did it? No, 16. No. It was 16. Right?
Yes, when Odell Beckham destroyed
the NFL.
Cowboys forever. Yes.
They didn't win.
No. He's elite. He's got maybe the fastest I don't know what you want to call it, change of speed. When you change direction and you accelerate, I don't think there's any receiver that's even close to his acceleration at that point. I think that's how he gets open so frequently. So he's probably the second or third fastest receiver in the NFL, but his change of speed to me in a instance is the most impressive thing about him, and I think that's what makes him so elite.
I agree.
So I have him at number 5.
I agree. Oh, we have 4?
Did you say your number 5?
Yeah, my number 5 was Antonio Brown.
That's right. Number 4. Okay, number 4.
We're at number 4.
Yeah, my number 4 is Antonio Brown for the same reasons you said.
Thank you. Thank you.
So to be fair, last year, if you asked me this question, I probably would have had him at 1. This year,
exactly.
I think that more stuff came out about him as, a teammate, and I think that has to be considered as a wide receiver. Hayden's got a point. I mean, when you demand the ball being thrown to you and you cause problems to your team, that impacts your value.
Top 5.
We're talking about the best locker room presence in the NFL. We're talking about when he
impacts you as a
playing football. He's not the 4th best receiver. He's top 2.
He was graded the worst out of anyone in my top 10 in PFF.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say this season. In the past he's put up really good numbers, and this year he even put up pretty good numbers, but actually really good numbers if you want to look at the raw totals. But I kept pointing to the yards per target, and his took a pretty big hit. He was only getting 7.7 yards per target, which is lower than Michael Thomas, lower than Mike Evans, T.Y. Hilton. Really, a lot of these guys that we have on our list. Actually, I think all of the guys that we've mentioned on our list. Antonio
He's the lowest graded out of the top 10. Out of even my honorable mentions.
So he had a down year. I'm not going to argue against it. And you know how I feel about the Steelers. I can't stand the fucking Steelers. But I cannot put him that high just because I'm not looking at last year. I'm looking at his career. And I still think he's in his prime.
This is top 10 NFL receivers right now. Right now.
I'm kind of doing a mix of I'm looking
still a top 3 wide receiver. He just had a down year. That doesn't mean going into next year that you can't expect him to be a top 3 receiver. I'm
going based off of how he graded out. And it's lucky he's that high. Because as I just said, he was 28th. There were 27 other receivers better than him, technically, last year. But he is so talented that he's in the top 5.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. I just number 4. I think that I look at these receivers in front of him and I'm like, wow, man, they put up great numbers this year. They're not the locker room cancer that he was. And I didn't want to believe that about Antonio Brown. Actually, before the season, I think everyone was of the mindset that he was actually a pretty solid guy. And then out of nowhere, he just started to kind of shake things up with his attitude. And Even on Instagram when he called out Juju Smith-Schuster when he was gone. I think that he actually hurt the team this year, and I think that's the only reason why I don't have him in my top 3. I don't know. Who's your 4?
Mine?
Yeah.
Mike Evans.
I almost had him over Antonio Brown, but I thought that would be a little too disrespectful.
I think he's probably my favorite receiver in the NFL. I think he's got the most potential out of I'm not going to say he's going to be the best receiver, but he's got the most talent that hasn't been able to shine. If that makes sense. The guy is extremely talented, and I think we've seen it. I think if he wasn't in Tampa Bay, we'd see it a lot more. I just think he's got unreal talent to be playing as well as he has with the quarterbacks he's been playing with on the team he's been playing with in the division he's been playing in. So
let's make this clear. He has Mike Evans over Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Over Odell Beckham Jr.
That one was close.
I had him over Odell Beckham Jr.
That was really close. That was tough. That was really what took me a while to decide on. Were those two? Was the difference between Mike Evans and Odell Beckham Jr. I think he's better than Michael Thomas.
Go. What number are we on?
We're on 4. You're the one who needs to, I think, give your 4. I think we've given our 4s, right? Yep. You just did.
I have Julio Jones.
Whoa.
I have Julio Jones. And it's close between the top 4. I have Julio Jones. And it's really, 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 really close. Really, 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 really close. Are
you saying that he's close to your number 1?
Yes. Number 1.
Could put those top 4 in it.
Number 4 is literally, if you made an argument for either one, for any of them being number 1, I wouldn't freak out about it.
Okay. I think that's funny.
It is literally that close. It is literally that close. And that takes a lot for me to admit because the team he plays for, I can't even say their name.
It's just funny to me that you say it's that close because on Twitter, the reason that I responded was because you said Michael Thomas is the best receiver and it's not even close. And so I just thought that was really funny because I'm not even trying to call you out for that.
Okay.
But now I'm listening to this and it's just funny.
Going and looking at everything, yes. And that takes a lot for me to admit because if you
clickbait.
I can't even describe to you how much I hate that red team.
Atlanta Falcons?
I literally cannot even say their name. But Julio Jones, in terms of having the most talent, again, you could argue him at number 1, and I wouldn't have any issues with it. I just think, the red zone production lacks a little bit for me to put him at number 1. Again, he's on a loaded offense, and there are times, yes, that he makes plays that win them the game because we all know Matt Ryan is overrated as crap. Not even going to get into that. But at the same time, they've had one of the best running back tandems in the NFL. One of the more underrated in the NFL. Just last year, they got Calvin Ridley, who was a rookie, was top 30 in catches.
Which isn't great, but he had a good season.
As a rookie.
Yeah.
And the lack of red zone production for Julio just kind of, to put you higher than that, I can't do that. Yes, he led the league in receiving yards. That's awesome. Again, if you put him at number 1, I wouldn't freak out. Yeah. Again, it's so close that, again, I wouldn't be mad. But yeah.
Yeah. What are we at, number 3?
Okay. Amari Cooper in the top 10.
Hey, honestly, maybe I'm the most biased unbiased on this list. I don't know. No, my number 3 is Michael Thomas. And I think that, Michael Thomas is, what is it? It was his second season, correct?
Third season, wasn't it?
Third, I believe. I could be wrong. I should know. It was his third.
No, it was his third. It was
his
so
third.
Yeah, he's obviously elite. I think Hayden. I told you this on Twitter yesterday, but I think he's the best possession receiver in the league. I think that obviously you saw him lead the league in receptions, and his catch percentage, that's the amount of catches that you get on targets, was the highest in the league. He was part of that. I think can be attributed to Drew Brees. He's generally a pretty accurate, quarterback. But I mean, you have to give Michael Thomas credit where credit is due. He catches things that come his way. I don't think that his deep route running. I'm not saying that it's bad, but he's not as big of a deep threat as other guys on my list, which is the only reason why I don't have him as a top guy. But that's why if you're the top possession receiver in the league and you're putting up. He's been a star since he came in the league, just like Odell Beckham. And so that's the only reason. Yeah, Antonio Brown has been doing it better longer, or maybe not better longer, but this season, I think Michael Thomas overcame Antonio Brown this season with his receptions, with his consistent yardage. He's a red zone guy. Michael Thomas, he's young. And so I think that going forward in that Saints offense, he's going to continue putting up numbers the way that we saw him do this year. Just my only knock on him is his deep catching ability, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we'll see the two guys I have in front of him do have that. But if you put him at number 1, I can't laugh at you, like you said. I'm guessing you have him at your number 1. We'll see. But if you do, I don't think that's ridiculous. But I think the reason why I responded to you yesterday was when you said it wasn't even close, and that's what prompted this whole discussion.
that was exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah, and I exaggerate too. I'm not trying to cause you.
I was coming off of in the middle of talking with a bunch of Saints people, so I'm sure that's where that came from.
Yeah,
it is ridiculous and it is biased that you consider him at number 1.
Go ahead.
Not that he's terrible, but look at the other receivers that you have, and it's just that he's not in their category. Number 3, Antonio Brown. All the reasons y'all said, but I didn't take into account as much as, and I hate, just like you, Kennedy, when there's a locker room cancer, I can't stand it. But I just think if you're doing this solely based off of skill, I've got a hard time arguing him any lower than number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I personally think he's my number 4. But I mean, just a year ago we were talking about him as the number 1 wide receiver in the league.
Yep.
And he is a red zone guy. He had 15 touchdowns this year in the red zone. That's a pretty big stat. And I don't know if they were all in the red zone. They could have been break loose ones, but fact of the matter is he had 15 touchdowns, top 3. I think with what you said, Hayden, you could argue a number of guys at number 1, where at that point, last year I think it was probably mostly Julio Jones and Antonio Brown, but this year it's a little bit more competitive, and I think it's probably going to continue to be more competitive as we go.
I agree.
So, did you say your number 3? So we've said so many names, I kind of lose track.
No, I haven't yet.
Okay.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
I have Odell Beckham. Again, could put him at number 1. I wouldn't freak out. Talented, put up numbers since he came in the league. Had the record for a lot of stats in his first 3 years until a certain Saint came along. Explosive, Maybe not the best hands in football, but makes outstanding catches. Like Ian said, back and forth quickness is unreal. Can be a bit diva-ish, but I think that comes with I think most number one talented guys like that want the ball all the time.
I think a lot of the difference between his and a lot of the other guys, like Antonio Brown, his felt more like me. I want the ball. And then to me, with Odell, it feels more like passion for the game.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
I definitely feel a difference between the two. I don't think it's completely.
People that slandered Odell for like kicking the field goal net. I have no issue with that. That's just frustration with being in a crappy team, a crappy situation with a crappy quarterback.
Yeah. I don't think that his diva-ish. Personally, I think that's a little overblown in my opinion. I do think he's somewhat of a diva, but people were talking about him year one of being a drama king. Not really. I just think that he danced and people didn't like that he whipped every touchdown. I don't know. It was just a little overblown. And then now that after the catch, the media has been on him like crazy. So of course you're going to see him be a little bit more of a diva than the rest of the people who are not following as much. But there are probably plenty of guys who are just as similar as him as characters who don't have the media following them. The other thing is I don't think it's divisive to his team. I think that he's maybe a little dramatic, but I think that you don't hear too many teammates, like Antonio Brown divided the locker room. Or Beckham, I don't think divided the locker room.
Yeah,
and I don't. I don't think he's that big of a diva.
I don't either. I think it's way overblown.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a diva. I can't deny.
Well, yeah. But I think again, if you were to put all these number one guys in that situation, I mean, Antonio was a diva and he had Big Ben throwing to him and a still pretty loaded offensive roster. Yeah. If Antonio's in Odell's situation, that's a bigger blow up than. So I think that's way overblown, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What are we on, number 3 now? No, number 2. Number 2. Hayden, I think you and I probably will have the same number 2 going off of process of elimination, but DeAndre Hopkins is an absolute animal. Oh man, he had 0 drops this year too. And we've seen him put up great numbers with bad quarterbacks in the past. But now he finally has a good quarterback. He's putting up phenomenal numbers, keeping Houston relevant. And, he, like I said, 0 drops. What was it, 1,600 yards? He did, I think, as far as receptions go, he might have been second to, as a receiver, he was second to Michael Thomas. And so as a possession receiver guy, he's right up there. He's a red zone target. I mean, you could make the case for him as number 1. I think Madden actually has him as a 99.
Yeah.
And not to go out, and I'm not saying Madden is the end-all be-all of discussions, but there's reason for that. He's a freak athlete who doesn't drop passes, and he's been putting up numbers since he came into the league as well. So number 2.
Who's up?
Ian, do you want to go?
Julio Jones.
Okay. I can sense that by your face when I said that we might all have the same one. Continue. Sorry.
Honestly, I guess my order now. That kind of shocked me. Because for all the reasons you said, I understand Julio Jones led the league in receiving. But I've got a hard time saying DeAndre Hopkins is not the best receiver in the NFL. But we'll get to that. Julio Jones, number 2. He's you could argue either one of them for number 1. He had the most. I think he had the most receptions in the NFL as well as yards, didn't he?
Michael Thomas
had the most receptions.
Was he number 2?
No,
Michael Thomas was one.
Hopkins was number two.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah, he had the most yards in the NFL. I think anytime a guy does that, and I think he's up there every year. So number two. I'm more excited for number one.
Okay. Hayden, do you have?
Two is DeAndre Hopkins. Just like you, everything you said. Again, if you put him at number one, I'm not going to argue with you. Madden has him as the best receiver in the NFL. He grades out on PFF as the best receiver in the NFL. Again, didn't drop a pass all year. Yeah, everything you said.
Well, I guess we can see where this is going, but I got Julio Jones at number one. And the reason I have him over DeAndre Hopkins is because I think Julio Jones is maybe a top 5 receiver we've ever seen, and he's still playing like it. And so DeAndre Hopkins is he's definitely probably a top 5, maybe top 3 talent that we've ever seen. But I think Julio Jones is up there, as far as historically. DeAndre Hopkins is neck and neck with him right now. But due to the overwhelming just history of Julio Jones, I mean, I think in the last 5 seasons, he's put up 1,500 yards or more in 3 of them. One of them was the second most yards in a season ever. And the only thing I do agree with you, Hayden, he's not the same red zone guy as many of these guys, but he's also likely he's getting, double, triple team because he's Julio Jones. I think that he's the number 1 receiver in the league. Like I said, one of the most physically gifted players that we've seen.
Oh,
ever.
I agree. Physically gifted, 1,000%. 1,000%.
I mean, yeah, that's really all I have to say about him. I think he had 113 receptions this year too, so he wasn't too far behind in the receptions with those guys. But
DeAndre Hopkins had 1,600 yards. He had 11 scores. Mm-hmm. He did not drop a pass all year. And I see over time, Julio Jones has been the better receiver. He's been in the league longer. But like you're saying, year in and year out, this guy's a hell of a player. But what gave DeAndre Hopkins the nod, in my opinion, was, as I've said, I think I've said it a few times, he's that go up and get it receiver. So being that kind of receiver and not dropping a pass all year, impressive. And he had the second most receptions all year. I don't know how many yards Julio Jones had, but I can't imagine DeAndre Hopkins was that far behind him. Hayden, I'm more excited to hear what you have to say.
As we all figured out by now, Michael Thomas is my number 1 guy. So I'm going to read you. Well, first, let me start by saying this. Again, 4 through 1, I wouldn't be mad if you put any of them at 1. My issue with you was that he was at 6.
Yep.
That's so blasphemous. But anyway, again, you put DeAndre at 1, Julio at 1, Odell at 1. I have no issues with any of those. Julio Jones, extremely talented. DeAndre Hopkins is definitely more explosive. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure being a receiver is about catching the football, right?
Yeah, it's about catching the football and getting your team down the field.
Okay. Thank you for listing that point. So I'm gonna read you some interesting things that my team at All Saints Considered brought to my attention.
Oh, give me a break.
First in receptions. First in red zone receptions. First in catch rate. First in contested catch percentage. Third in yards after catch. Sixth in receiving yards. Sixth in yards per route run. Second in PFF total grade and receiving grade. So yeah, that's like 13 reasons that I just listed as an argument for him at number one.
I respect it, although I guess we all have different criteria when it comes down to it. So I'm looking maybe at more proven over the year. Like, and I'm not saying that these guys aren't proven. Michael Thomas is very, very much proven. But I think of all these players that we've talked about, Julio Jones and probably Antonio Brown are the most proven guys. Yep. That's why I have Julio Jones as number one, especially since he's continuing to play like it. But I mean, if we're talking about last season, I might say DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver just off of last season. But you could say that about a number of things. You know, one season I don't think makes you the best receiver in the league. So that's why I have Julio Jones as my number one. But you can certainly, like, based on your criteria, I absolutely agree. Like, if that's the type of receiver that you think makes for the best receiver in the league, then Michael Thomas is the best receiver in the league according to that. Mm-hmm. Same with DeAndre Hopkins.
So my issue with some things that you brought up against him doesn't make plays, you know, in terms of going down the field. But he was top 3 in yards after catch, top 6 in yards per route run. Plus, you throw in the fact that he had 125 catches and.
Wait, you said he was top what in yards per catch?
Yards after catch, he was third.
Oh, yards after catch. Okay, sorry. So yeah, I mean.
Yards per route run, he was 6th.
I'm not saying that he's not capable of getting yards, because he can get yards, but if you're throwing a deep route to somebody, I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, even Mike Evans down the field, probably more than I'll take.
That's just the type of build of the receiver, though. That's not really a knock on Michael Thomas, I don't think.
Yeah, no, Michael Thomas, I'm sure that he can get yards. It's just, if you're going to throw a deep ball, Hail Mary, I'm going to throw it to a few other guys over him, and not even just a Hail Mary, but like generally just deep passes.
So a deep pass down the field is usually one that you have to go up and get. And he led the league in contested catch percentage.
Yeah, that's not always the.
Oh no, I agree. I agree. You know, I'd take Julio and DeAndre Hopkins running a streak down the field over Michael Thomas, 1,000%. 1,000.
If you're looking for a first down or even a touchdown close to the end zone, Michael Thomas is one of your guys. He's going to consistently get you down the field. If you're looking for someone to take, to blow the head off, I think that.
Yeah,
I think it's close. I think it's really close. Like as you said, any of these top 4 guys, if you want to argue them at number 1, I think that you can make that case. And I think that Julio Jones, I think it's neck and neck between him and DeAndre Hopkins, and I think that Michael Thomas, it's neck and neck between him and DeAndre Hopkins as well.
I have no issue. Again, yeah. I have no issue with that. My whole thing is, what is your reason for putting him at 6?
That was last year.
What?
That was last year. Odell Beckham does that every year. Julio Jones does it every year.
Michael Thomas just broke the records that Odell set in his first 3 years.
I'm talking about year in and year out. If we're talking about last year, sure,
Ian,
there's a very valid argument for him being the best receiver last year. But that's also because of the way the Saints team was structured and who was throwing in the ball. But
if it were year in and year out, though, I think everyone would probably have Julio Jones or Antonio Brown at number 1.
That's true. But, I mean, mine was more last year weighted with year in and year out is how I feel
year in and year out. Here we go.
What's going on?
I don't know.
Okay.
So in 3 seasons, he has 321 catches, 4,000 yards, 23 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And his rookie season, he wasn't the number 1 receiver on the team. And yet had 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns and 92 catches.
Good year.
2017, 104 catches, 1,300 yards. 2018, 125 catches, 1,400 yards, 9 touchdowns. All the stats I just read you.
Yep. He's
And
up
he's
there
6.
twice.
And he's 6.
He's not better than Odell Beckham Jr. He's not better than Mike Thomas. He's not better than Julio Jones. He's not better than Antonio Brown. He's not better than DeAndre Hopkins.
I do think that I have him better than Odell Beckham only because my only issue with Odell Beckham and the reason he wasn't in my top 5 was just that his injuries. I think they always say it, availability is the best ability. I don't know if it's the best ability. I mean, if you're not healthy, you're not playing, and if you're not playing, I don't think you can be, one of my top guys. But
Kennedy, is Michael Thomas better than Mike Evans?
I have him better than Mike Evans.
Is Michael Thomas better than Antonio Brown?
Just a neck, just a hair, but
okay.
Yeah, I have him better than Antonio Brown this season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but well, are we done with this? Sorry,
both of you weight years off of last season.
A little bit. Yeah, that's why I had DeAndre Hopkins.
A little bit. Yeah, I kind of had a collection of all of it. Is kind of how, and I kind of just weighted them against each other.
So I still don't understand him being at 6.
I guess the way I saw it was, who am I taking going into next season? Julio Jones is someone I'm taking him because I know that over the last 5 seasons, he's put up absurd numbers, and he's probably going to do it again next season. DeAndre Hopkins had probably the best season last season if we want to talk about drops and overall yardage and receptions, things like that. I think that he might have had the best season last season, but I'm still taking Julio Jones going into next season. Michael Thomas, if you want to say he's the number 1 wide receiver going into next season, I have no problem with that. And then after that, I think I wouldn't necessarily say Antonio Brown has as much of an argument at number 1 anymore, just because last season I thought that it was a little bit iffy of him. But if you want to say that, I have to take you at least a little bit seriously because of what he's done in the past. But that's pretty much where I stand. Hayden, you said that it was based off of who's the best right now. I guess I'm going a little bit future, but the future is also affected by the past, and I have to go with something that I think is proven, and so that's why I don't have.
That's a completely different way to look at it, and I didn't even consider it that way. I thought to this point, I wasn't thinking of if we're taking these guys going to next season, who would I take with me? And that changes things completely. I still have DeAndre Hopkins at 1. Antonio Brown would fall. Julio Jones would fall. Antonio Brown, because it makes me nervous with everything that's going on with him. And the fit where he is. Julio Jones, this may be unfair, but based off of age. Odell, you could take DeAndre Hopkins at 1, and you could give me Odell, Mike Evans, and Michael Thomas in any order at number 2, and I'd be okay going into the next season.
Yeah. And honestly, we didn't clarify at the beginning whether it's going into next season or whether it's based off of career, whether it's based off of just last season. So I don't think that there was anything wrong with anyone's list other than Hayden. I think that Mike Evans should definitely be top 6 at least. And Ian, I think that Michael Thomas is probably a top 3 receiver. But y'all probably had issues with my list too. Maybe, I don't know. But
I'm actually very proud of you. I will say this. Usually you're the more reasonable Cowboy fan. Thank you for not putting Amari Cooper in your top 10. Thank you.
If I put him in my top 10, I'd have if I really force it, it would have to be at number 10. But I can't see him as a top 10 receiver just yet because I haven't seen much from him to indicate that he's been a top 10 receiver at any point in his career just yet. But he could be.
I don't even know what to say to you.
This is a stretch.
Oh.
This is a stretch. I know. I mean, before I even say it, I know it's a stretch, but I'd like for you to hear me out. Hold on. I want to make sure I get my stats right before I even start with you. Michael Thomas had 125 for 1405 and 9 scores. In half a year, Amari Cooper had 53 for 725 and 6 scores. If you mirror that over to the rest of the year, it's damn close. Not saying they're the same receiver, not saying they're on the same level, but it's really close to your boy at number 1.
Go ahead, Kennedy.
I don't really have much more to add to this. And honestly, I think I'd probably even have to go to got some homework due tonight that I need to get done. But top 3, in my opinion, are debatable, but Julio Jones, my number 1 guy. That's the end of our wide receiver talk. Unless y'all have more to say, but
no,
I don't even want to talk to him anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you to listening. Thank you to everyone who's listening. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Lunch Sports. It's a great Twitter page. Go ahead and DM us, and
except for Arash.
Except for Arash, not Arash.
DM us anymore.
I
was close to blocking you after I saw what I saw.
Ignore it.
I was close to blocking you, Arash. But anyway.
Arash, we love you, just not in our DMs.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead and give us a follow. DM us any ideas, anything that you want to talk about. Until I don't know when we're doing our next one. Actually, are we doing one tomorrow? Or are we doing one?
Friday, probably.
Friday. Okay.
I would guess Friday.
So Friday, expect us to be recording a podcast, and it might come out Friday or Saturday. I'm not sure, but anyway, until then, we'll see y'all later. Y'all have the rest of your week. Follow us on Twitter.